Well, welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Carol Moulton coming to you once again with Tea Time with Carol. How the heck are you, beloved? Haven't spoken to you in a while. I've missed you. I hope things are going well. Things on this end, I cannot complain. I was honored last night at a reception that honored 40 women of color. And it was very, very, very nice. And I was very honored to be in that number. But enough about me. We're going to talk about you today. How are you surviving in this openly hostile environment? If you're a person of color, it ain't easy. It is not easy. And so we're just going to talk about that for a few minutes today. Not going to be here before you long. I know you've got a lot on your plate as always, but we're just going to take a moment to talk about racism and trauma and what you can do about it. Um, a couple of weeks ago, and this all came to me as for the past several days, the hearing for regarding the nominee of Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson has been all over the news and sort of inflames those feelings again that we've all gone through, where we're hyper qualified, and yet somebody who doesn't have half the qualifications that we possess wants to come in and ask a lot of nonsensical, what. But anyway, we deal with it as we must. But it was really, really heartening to see Black Girl Magic once again, with her so poised and so confident and so just so wonderful. I mean, that was magic watching her, as well as Senator Cory Booker, who was so passionate in his defense and who spoke the things that we were all thinking and feeling. Um, I wrote about something recently, and I want to share with you. I decided that there is one store that I'm no longer going to shop at, and I'm not going to name the store until I write to the CEO and give them an opportunity to address it. It was a small. I don't want to minimize it. It was something that happened to me. Um, and some people may say it was small, but it was just one more of those 1,000 paper cuts that people of color have to deal with every single day. So on this particular day, I had a little extra time. I had an item that I needed to return to a store. Um, and so I decided, a beautiful, gorgeous day, and so I decided to do some extra walking and just enjoy the sunshine, and I was in such a good mood. And so I walk in the store, and there are like four white women standing at the register. They all took one look at me, and you could almost hear the oh, from them. And the older woman, who I took to be the manager, visibly sneered and turned her back, and nobody said anything. And there was no one else at the register. There were no customers in the store. And so finally, the last woman said, "Oh, I can help you down here." And so I said, "Oh, I have a return." And before I could say anything more, she said, "Oh, you bought this online. We don't accept returns here." And I was like, "Well, wait a minute. I bought this from your store." "Oh, yeah, 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 but we don't. I mean, it's very clear. We don't accept that kind of return here, and you have to take it to a regular store." I was in an outlet. And so I was like, "Okay." And that, I decided it was not going to color the rest of my day. However, I left the store feeling, kind of less than, really minimized and unseen. It was horrible the way I felt when I left. And I sat with it for quite a while, and then I decided I was going to start writing about it. One, because black folks control a whole lot of money in this country, and I don't feel that our dollars are appreciated. And I'm going to start making a real concerted effort to put my dollars only where they're appreciated. So I decided I'm never going in that store again, but I decided I would also write to the CEO and let him or her know of my decision and why. And I think if all of us start doing that, that will drive the change that we're looking for. You know, this country understands one thing, and it's green. It's not black or brown or white, it's green. And if you vote with your money and say this is unacceptable, I'm not accepting this kind of treatment from you and your store, and so I'm taking my money elsewhere, then people will, all this diversity and inclusion and equity stuff that they love to put on their websites will start to have some real meaning. But anyway, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. That's how I'm living my life. And I hope you'll join me in this, because I think it's important that we have to appreciate all that we're bringing to the table, with our wonderful selves. We really have to start acknowledging how much of an impact we can have if we unite and do things together. Anyway, okay. Racism and trauma. All right, so let's talk about it. I'm going to talk about this more in depth as we go forward, but I'm only going to talk about it from a real I don't want to call it surfacey, but high level kind of thing. Um, a lot of science is being conducted. A lot of scientists are studying racism and trauma right now, and there's an understanding that trauma by racism is handed down generationally. And I'll talk more about this, later on. It's handed down in a number of different ways. One is genetics. If your mother, while she was carrying you, underwent some things, that's going to be passed. That's going to be passed to you. I think if you're a person of color, everybody recalls having the talk, or one of your parents having the talk with your brothers, meaning, look, when you leave here, you have to carry yourself in a particular way to be safe and make sure you get back here in one piece. I certainly remember, my parents having that talk with my brother. I have two brothers, but the older one, I particularly remember them having that talk with, and this was some time ago. I mean, way before George Floyd and all of that. Parents were having to instruct their children, their especially their male children, on how to be safe when interacting with the police, and that kind of thing. Um, Another way that we've sort of adapted ourselves is how we code switch. We talk one way among each other and a different way when we're at work or whatever. And our children see that, and they see the difference, and that's another way that we sort of perpetuate things. And I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not making a judgment about it. I'm just saying that that's what happens. So, these are all ways that racism and trauma continue. So, the question now is, what do we have to do in order to cope? Because at one time, racism was pretty much undercover. You you knew it, you could recognize it, but it was more coded. Now there's no code. I mean, there's there used to be dog whistles, where folks would talk in a certain kind of way. Now there's no whistle. It's just all out in the open. It's clear racism is alive and well in this country, doing very well. Thank you very much. And they believe that that is the direction that this country should go in. And that's a scary thought, but okay. So, what do you do when you're exhausted, having to deal with this kind of stuff on the daily? What do you do when you have a boss who is um, just requiring so much more from you than everybody else, and somehow it's never quite enough? Sally can halfway do stuff, and it's like, oh, that was magic, Sally. Thank you so much. Or should I say, Karen? Oh, that was so great. That was so wonderful. But you come along with your magnificent self, run rings around Sally, and it's like, really? Is that all you did? Okay. But, really, can you next time dot the I from left to right instead of right to left? Just stupid stuff. So, but how do you deal with that? I mean, I think for a lot of folks, they turn it in and resort to, drugs or alcohol, which is not really the answer. Um, for some, it comes out in anger, really uncontrolled anger. I mean, there are a lot of different ways that people cope with this kind of thing. I'm just going to make one recommendation, and well, a couple of things. There are a couple of things now that the trauma of racism is being recognized on a more widespread basis. You may want to consider really talking to somebody, and I don't mean your best friend. I mean somebody who is paid to listen and can give you objective advice. And I'm not making a recommendation if that has to be a person of color or not. I have used in the past a therapist who was a white woman who I found to be really, really good, really engaging, very understanding of the things, and really helped me in a lot of different ways. Put some guardrails around some issues that I was having. So, you know, and I know there's been a reluctance in the Black community to seek this kind of assistance or even talk about it or even think about it. But it's time that we recognize the mental trauma that we all deal with on a very consistent and regular basis and start addressing it in a healthy way, because it's our lives depend on it. We've got to be able to stand up and deal with the stuff that we have to deal with without resorting to unhelpful things, without making bad choices, but being able to stand up and take our place in this country in a much better and healthy way. So therapy is one thing that, and it doesn't have to be long term. You don't have to sit on the couch. It doesn't have to be a long, drawn out process. I think I was talking to her over maybe a 3-month period, and that was it. And I can go back when I feel the need to, but I think it's important to, number one, recognize when stuff is starting to get to you. And if you find yourself having to take mental health days, and those are days where you lay in bed and don't do anything because you're just so freaking overwhelmed, that may be a good time to start thinking about looking for somebody to talk to. um, at some point I will start posting resources that are free, or your insurance may cover them, but don't let that stop you. There are plenty of places out there that will help. and your mind and your brain will thank you for it. So think about doing that. Self-care is another thing that I think is really important. And when I say self-care, I mean, being intentional and mindful about what you're putting in your body, being intentional and mindful about what you eat and about exercise. Okay, full confession here. I don't always, practice what I preach. I'm trying to do better, so y'all help me, hold me accountable. But it's important that you do take time out, even if it's just 10 minutes, 10 or 15 minutes. It's important that you do something for your body. So we talked about eating, we talked about um, exercise. Now, what about the mental part? In addition to therapy or counseling, you may want to consider meditation. Um, it doesn't have to be a long, drawn out process. There are a number of apps now that provide all different types of meditation, and I really, really, really recommend. You'd be surprised at how much better your day can go if you spend a little time in meditation. And this is in addition to being grateful, because that's important too. And we've talked before about having a gratitude journal and that kind of thing. But spending some time meditating, and there are a couple of different ways that you can do it. You can decide you want to meditate about one particular thing, and you just sort of focus on that, and you just think about it. And it doesn't have to be a problem. It doesn't have to be anything bad. It, Look, this is, there are no rules, so you can do it however it feels best to you. If you want to, if you feel you can slow yourself down enough to think about one thing, that's fine. That may be difficult for you because you may find in trying to think about one thing, 50 million other things come to mind, and you just can't focus. And so if you decide to meditate and there are just too many thoughts and it feels like it's just uncontrollable, here's my suggestion for you. And I think you'll like it because this works really, really well. So when that happens and you're trying to slow things down so you can just meditate, get in the right space, just think of yourself as standing on a street corner, and all of the thoughts, sorry, all of those thoughts are just cars passing by. And you don't have to make a judgment about them. You just see it and just let it go by. And here's another thought, and you let it go by. And it's fine. And then, if you do that often enough, you'll get to a place where those intruding thoughts don't continue to bother you, and then you can meditate in another way. You can do it with music, without music, whatever works for you. But the point is to slow everything down, because I don't know if we're always aware of, our brain always being so active, and you're making judgments about things on the regular. And sometimes it's good to just slow down, and just be for a minute. Just be. Instead of do, just be. Just be. So, my darlings, I hope this helps you. I think that is the bulk of what I wanted to share with you today. I hope that there's something useful that you find in some of this, and that um, things continue to work themselves out for you. If you believe that they will, they will. If you believe they won't, they won't. So a lot of this is about you making a decision about who you are and how you want to show up in the world and how you want to play the game called life. So we'll talk more about that going forward. But in the meantime, in between time, my prayer for you is that God blesses you abundantly, richly, more than you could ask or think. And so, with that, beloved, we're going to close for today. Know and rest in my infinite love for you, my infinite desire for growth for you, and know that you are blessed because you are here. And so, until next time, just remember everything you want is on the other side of fear. I'll talk to you soon. I love you. Take care. Bye bye.